Hi, and welcome back to Keep Smiling with Larry Rifkin. I'm Larry Rifkin. How are you? Today, we're going to discuss overall health. And I want to put it in context of spirituality. We are beings that are made up of mind, body, and spirit. And here in the Western civilization, we tend to look at each area individually. We compartmentalize each one of these. When we don't feel good, we talk to a doctor, and the doctor is looking at our bones, or our lungs, or our eyes, or whatever it is. We like when they specialize. But what we're doing is we're absolutely separating our being. As spiritual beings, as human beings, we are made up of our mind, our body, and our spirit. And all of these are connected. And all of these together make up our being and our happiness. Now, when we look at our health, it's important that we look at each area. We want to work on, and we have in the past, work on our mind, what we think, how we think, keeping positive thoughts in our mind, keeping our vibrational frequency high. We work on our bodies. We work out, we meditate, we do yoga, we sit and still ourselves, and we work on our spirit, at least those of us that are following a spiritual path. And again, one of the most important factors there is, sitting and stilling our minds and listening and allowing. But what we don't do here as a whole or as a principle is look at everything as one unit, because we are one unit. We're an energy body. And that energy encompasses our body, our mind, and our spirit. And if we only focus on one of those areas and we neglect one of the other ones, we're not working on our being as a whole. It's very important that we do look at ourselves as a whole and work on each area together. Our body is telling us when we're in line and when we're in sync and when we're feeling right and feeling good. And when we're not feeling good, it's our body's way of letting us know that something needs attention. And we sit down and we look at it. And it's as important to take care of our bodies as it is our minds, as it is our souls. Our bodies are our temples. What we put into them, how we eat, what we eat, how we exercise. All of this, a strong body is equal to a strong temple. It's our temple. And when our body is strong and full of strength and coming from a place of well-being and empowerment, we're now freer to be able to work on our mind and work on our spirit and all of this. Our mind is so important. Many people, especially here in the Western Hemisphere, very few people actually think. As a very wise person I know always says, they sleepwalk through life. They're not in touch with their emotions. They're not in touch with their feelings. They're not in touch with anything. They're not taking care of the entire package. And the entire package needs to be looked at as a whole, because that's what makes us up. When we start with our mind and working towards our body, one of the things that we want to realize is that our thoughts and our lives really are controlled from emotions. When we talked in the past about vibrational frequency and raising our vibrational frequency, it was always taking our thoughts and our desires, which have a certain vibrational signature that sits out there. But once you put emotion behind them and feelings behind them, we're able to raise that up. We need to realize that when it comes to our emotions, basically there are two emotions that govern our bodies and the way that we deal. We either have the emotion of love or the emotion of fear. These are what are pivotal in everything we do. Some of the things that come under the emotion of love are joy, desire, peace, calmness, happiness. All of these evoke our emotions and evoke our emotion of love. All of these bring us a little bit more satisfaction, a little bit more at peace with ourselves. When we look at the flip side of that coin, and the other emotion that drives us, which is fear, anger, frustration, guilt, jealousy, all of these are coming from an emotion dealing with fear. So if we can recognize what we're feeling inside and recognize, is it coming from an emotion of love or positive? And are we working and taking care of that emotion, or is it coming from the emotion of fear and more of a negative place? And if we can set the intention to recognize these and realize, okay, this is being brought by or brought about through an emotion of fear that I'm feeling. Well, now we are able to recognize that. And we set the intention, we recognize that, we look at it, and we see what our options are so that we can move it from coming from an emotion of negative, an emotion of fear, and bringing it back to an emotion of love or of happiness or of being positive. Most of us here, and again, on the Western Hemisphere, and there is a big difference between where we're brought up and where our traditions lie, whether we were brought up here in the Western Hemisphere where we are, and we're in the United States, we happen to be in Florida, or on an Eastern philosophy. And I think part of that comes down to people's definition of spirituality versus religion. More people think that, here in the West, we deal with the dogma of religion, where people on the East deal more with spirituality and dealing with our inner peace and bettering ourselves. Here on the Western side, we always seem to be uncomfortable with our feelings. We're taught from the time that we're born to mask our feelings, always put out this look of you're okay, and you hide your feelings. It's not necessarily a good thing. Very few of us actually think and have come to a place where we're comfortable with our emotions and we are able to recognize them and actually able to share them with other people. When we're dealing with our health and looking at everything as a whole, our body, our spirit, and our mind, we want to start with our mind. Because, as I believe, everything comes from our thoughts. Our thoughts start everything. So if we keep working on the power of our mind and our thoughts, we learn to recognize when they're negative or coming from an emotion of fear, and readjusting that or reframing it over to an emotion of love or positiveness. The power of thought is so important, especially when we're working with healing ourselves and bringing ourselves to well being. Also, along with thought, our minds are very powerful. We want to visualize what we say and what we want and what we desire. We want to visualize ourselves in a state of well being, in a state of ultimate health, in a state of happiness. When we can visualize that in our mind, it helps it to become a reality. Some of us have more challenges at visualizing the things that we want and our desires in our mind. That's okay. When this happens, there's an easy exercise, and we've talked about this before and it's been talked about on other shows. One of the things that you can do, and we're a big believer in, is create a vision board. When you create a vision board, you're helping your mind take that visualization and make it concrete and put it into your mind. So take a vision board, even though you have another vision board on your career make a vision board on your health. Take a picture of yourself, how you see yourself, with how you want to be in good health, in good well-being, and put all of that down there. And you now have a vision board. You can now take this and visualize what you want and where you're trying to move to. Keep stepping forward towards this. Also, when it comes to our mind, we also always want to be connected to the divine, the higher power. We want to connect with this within us, whatever higher power it is, whether it's God or Jesus or angels or the universe or Muhammad or whatever it is that your higher power is that you speak to. You want to connect with it on an inside level. Again, everything comes from inside of us. Our happiness, love, peace, calmness, it all starts within us. And we have to be able to be comfortable with us first before we can share that with the outside world. So we want to be able to connect with that. And how we can connect with that, if it's a matter of worshiping, and worshiping is a funny word because some people automatically think, okay, in order to worship, I have to go to a brick and mortar building and I have to sit down at this church or this temple or this mosque or whatever it is. That's not how I mean it right here. Because you can worship anywhere you are. The divine, your higher power, whatever it is that connects to you, hears you, feels you, knows you. Whether you're in a church or a temple or a mosque, or whether you're at your home, or whether you're in a supermarket or at school or at the mall, it doesn't matter. And it also doesn't matter if you reach out to touch this divine on an individual basis or in a community setting. A lot of people think, again, I've got to go to a brick and mortar building, I've got to sit in this church, and I need to be surrounded with other people doing the exact same thing that I am. If that's what works for you, and that's what's comfortable, that's what you should do. But know that the divine, the higher spirit, doesn't need you to be in a group of people. You can connect with them on an individual basis. Now, we've taken this, we've looked at our mind, we've looked at our thoughts, we're recognizing whether it's coming from an emotion of love or an emotion of fear. And the next thing is how we treat ourselves. And this is so important, and this feeds into the health on all three levels: mind, body, and spirit. if we think badly of ourselves and we only think of the challenges, the health challenges that we have, and how this is holding us back and how we can't do it and this is limiting us, that's what your universe is going to be. It's going to be very limited and very narrow. But if you open it up and you treat yourself and you look at this issue doesn't define me, and it's not going to stop me on my path or on my journey. As a matter of fact, whatever challenges we have, and we've learned this in the past, whether it's with health or with career or with family or with challenges are what makes us stronger. So you can almost say that an illness or an injury or something that's making us slow down and look at ourselves is part of being on a spiritual journey. It's telling us to slow down, to be still, to listen, to connect with the spirituality in all aspects of our life. And something else that I say, and I say it a lot, and this is so important when it comes to our health, when it comes to every area of our life, is never take ourselves too seriously. No matter what, keep it light and find humor, laugh. Your inner power, your higher source, God, the universe, ultimately, they want us to be happy. That's the ultimate purpose on life, to be happy, find our gift, and share our gift, in my opinion, for what it's worth. But if you want to keep it light, don't take it too seriously, work on our bodies, work on our mind. All of it is connected. Our bodies, our mind, and our spirit are all connected. And when we're dealing with physical health, we want to make sure that we're tying it all into our physical health, our emotional health, and our spiritual health. And one of the ways that we want to do that is, number one, we want to identify our shortcomings. Know where we have challenges, where we have issues. Recognize them. We don't want to be an ostrich and stick our heads in the sand. We want to recognize them. We want to make changes. We want to address where we're lacking and make changes so that we're better. Because isn't that the goal of spirituality? To always work on being a little bit better than we were. And when we do that, we're now able to raise our vibrational frequency, our vibrational signature to a higher level. And this is going to allow us to be able to put out a more positive feeling, to feel better about ourselves, and to help us on our journey. We want to make sure that we don't disconnect each area of our life. Our spiritual is over here, and I'm going to work on that on Tuesday, and I'm going to deal with that, next week. Our body is over here, and I'm going to deal with that on Sundays because I'm going to go to the gym. And our mind is over here, and I'm going to deal with that on Wednesdays because I'm going to read a book. No, they're not all individual areas. We need to learn to come to a place where we're putting them all together as a whole, and we're looking at the entire package. Our body, our mind, and our spirit. And as we move towards well-being, and we work on each one of these areas, we'll find that in life, we're going to be much better off in each one of these areas. I hope this was something that you were able to use. Please go to our website, check it out, share it, and subscribe. The website is listed right at the bottom of the screen. And until next week, I look forward to seeing you back here. Have a wonderful week, and remember, keep smiling.